Context here, we work with 30 plus B2B SaaS companies right now executing demand gen with a lot of the tactics that are being executed that are not performance marketing or direct attribution happening in the dark funnel in appropriate ways that therefore you wouldn't be able to measure directly. We have built some custom measures that we've talked about in great detail on this podcast, such as custom conversions inside of Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, correlating certain other variables like views or impressions through LinkedIn organic, qualitative insights on comments or messages. There's a lot of other ways that you could think about measuring, but I stopped and thought about this and I was like, maybe if you just kind of like forgot about what was happening right now and started over, you might end up at a different place. And so I'm going to take you through what I'm thinking about this with the main point of the idea that most of the most important touch points that marketers could do today are not being captured by attribution software, therefore not giving credit, therefore not getting budget, therefore not being executed. And so we need to figure out a way, because the stuff is working, we need to figure out a way to change our processes in order to measure it appropriately to therefore present to executives about what's actually happening. And so I'm going to go through that. So first one that most companies use, so I'm just going to move through it right now. Some form of attribution, most likely multi-touch attribution software. These tools have become industry standard for B2B SaaS. I believe that you should use them. I think that actually it would be irresponsible to not use them in a lot of instances, and so I think that you should use them. However, we need to acknowledge all of the things that these tools cannot track accurately, automatically. And so being able to divide off, okay, this is what can be measured, and this is what we're not going to be able to measure. We need to figure out other methods to measure these specific things that aren't getting caught by multi-touch attribution software. And so when you start going deeper than that, a couple of the things that we've implemented at Refine Labs, I've watched other companies that either we work with or I'm just friendly with that have been doing some of these things, which has brought in an incredible amount of insights to them that then guide their strategy about what to do. And so the first one about what you could add to the stack, because most companies already are using attribution software, so what could you add? Number one is what I would call self-reported attribution. And so that is inside of your high intent conversion form, aka probably a demo, but on ours it's a request a consultation. One of the fields in that is how did you hear about us, and it is a free text box. We're testing free text as well as a drop-down menu to understand which one would be preferable. We're starting with free text and getting really interesting insights through that. Now, common conversion rate optimization principles would tell you don't add any more fields to the form. It's going to decrease conversion rates, which is true in the mindset of high volume performance marketing or organic to a low intent form. However, I would argue that if you've gotten someone to that high intent page and they're qualified and you're not creating like a massive form, that you wouldn't adjust conversion rates that significantly. We're also going to test that so people know, but when we did it, we didn't add another field. We took out a field and put this one in instead. And so something to consider there. We implemented that on Sunday of this, so 2 or 3 days ago. Since then, we've gotten 3 high intent conversions. I have the data here, and we're going to go through it. So company 1, senior manager, demand generation company, 250 to 1,000 employees. HubSpot's attribution tags it organic search. Multi-touch attribution tags it organic search. How did you hear about us? Self-reported attribution tags it the State of Demand Gen podcast. Number 2, CEO, company of 11 to 50 employees. HubSpot says direct traffic. Multi-touch attribution says actually they had a different person from that account anonymously on organic search previous to that conversion. So we have direct traffic and organic search for this conversion. And how did you hear about us says a word of mouth recommendation from a friend. And the third one, VP revenue marketing, 250 to 1,000 employees. HubSpot says organic search. Multi-touch attribution says organic search. How did you hear about us says LinkedIn and podcast. So 3 out of 3, HubSpot was wrong, multi-touch attribution was wrong, and how did you hear about us was the most accurate self-reported by the converter. That's just 3. Now, I know other companies have done this and gotten similar results, so I would highly encourage companies to consider testing this to give credit to things that are not getting credit right now. And I'm just want to restate what I said was that multi-touch attribution and HubSpot were wrong. That's actually not true. They just didn't get the full picture. They didn't actually get the right first touch. And so the multi-touch attribution software gave us some insights, but how did you hear about us clearly got a different result that those tools can't measure. So number 2 would be self-reported attribution. It's super easy to implement. The value of it I'm seeing so far is incredibly high. I would recommend trying it for people, especially if you have channels that are running that you know are working and can't prove. If all you're doing is running performance marketing, $1 million a month in Google ads and thinking that you're going to get something different, I don't know. If 75% of your conversions are branded, you might actually get something different. And so some things for people to think about. The second one that I know people have implemented and gotten really good results is something that I would call offline attribution. Win analysis is probably a more obvious description of this. And so building a program as from either marketing or customer experience, a lot of companies, marketing owns experience in a lot of ways. And so marketing or customer experience to have a direct phone conversation with the primary contact on every opportunity that came through marketing sourced, and having a conversation with them about where they heard about you, where they did their research. When you're on that call, like what you're trying to get initially is how did they hear about you, so you can see how that matches up. But then you can also talk about so many other things that marketers never, and never is an overstatement, but rarely get enough time to speak with customers and prospects. And so this is an opportunity. I've done this before when I was an employee. You can think about understanding why you won, how they heard about you, identifying opportunities to collaborate on things like events or content potentially. There's a lot of different things that you could cover in that call as options. And so that's number 2. I think people should consider both of those. And then the third one is sort of a large scale measurement to measure your penetration and awareness inside of your market. And so in this case, it would be large scale surveys to your ICP at firmographic fit accounts through a third party. So it's not coming through your brand, it's coming through a third party in order to understand aided and unaided recall, preferred brand, which brand they actually use, how do they associate certain logos, or what's the first thing you think when you see this logo. There are a lot of good insights, and I've done this before as well, that you can use and then track over time to understand, do more people in the market as a percentage basis, if the sample size is statistically relevant, do more people in the market understand our brand? Do they associate it with the right term? Are we the top brand of choice? You can go on and on for these things and track them on a, probably somewhere between 3 and 6 month rolling basis as 3 new data points that can help you sort of triangulate and understand attribution overall.